8:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Sandhi Thavam. The final Randoli Mahaparahara today. The Anunayaka of the Askiriya chapter says, the President plays a pivotal role for the country in these challenging times and merits the unwavering support of all citizens. The President said the efforts encompass the formulation of a new Central Bank Act will pave the way for subsequent negotiations with creditor nations. A shared past will help build common future, Dutch State Secretary tells Sri Lankan Prime Minister. A special bus service commenced from Anuradhapura railway station to the sacred city under the patronage of Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena. Rare super blue moon with ringed planet Saturn to appear tonight. Tax raised and permit system scrapped for wheat flour imports. In news overseas, Ukraine war, wave of drone strikes hit several Russian regions. And in sport cricket, Pakistan in command against Nepal in the curtain raiser of the Asia Cup tournament. The final Randoli Mahaparahara of the SLBC festival in Kandy is parading the streets tonight. The Parahara, which departed northbound from the Dalada Maligava at 7:03 p.m., travelling along Dalada Street, Yatinivara Street, Kanda Street, D.S. Saranayaka Street and returned from Rajavidya. After the Parahara returns, the Parahara of the Dalada Maligava goes to the Asgiriya Gedige Rajamahaviharaya along with the four Devala processions. According to ancient ritual, the Parahara casket will be placed there. Later, the processions of the four main Devalas will return to the temples and perform rituals. After that, they will proceed to the Gatabe ferry along Katukale Street and perform the water-cutting ceremony. After performing the water-cutting ritual early in the morning on August 31st, the procession of the four Devalas will reach the god Ganapati Devala in Katukale. After performing the offerings there, the Devala Parahara will proceed along the Kandy Municipal Council Road and will join the main Parahara which starts from Gedige Vihara. After that, the Parahara moves along G.S. Saranayaka Street, comes up Rajavidya and goes around the Dalada Maligava Square 3 times and enters. With that, this year's Kandy SLBC festival comes to an end. The Anunayaka of the Askiriya chapter, Most Venerable Anamaduwe Dhammadasithera, praised President Ranil Wickremesinghe for playing a pivotal role for the country in these challenging times and merits the unwavering support of all citizens. The Most Venerable Anunayaka of the Askiriya chapter, Anamaduwe Dhammadasithera, said that at a time when the country is facing daunting challenges, President Ranil Wickremesinghe's significant contributions deserve collective endorsement for the progress of the nation. The Most Venerable Dhammadasithera conveyed that it is lamentable that certain individuals fail to comprehend the President's endeavours to regenerate Sri Lanka in the aftermath of adverse circumstances. He expressed confidence that the programs initiated by the President for the nation will undoubtedly receive the blessings of the Mahasangha. The Anunayaka Thera revealed this information yesterday afternoon when President Ranil Wickremesinghe visited the historic city of Kandy. The President received blessings from the esteemed Malvathu and Askiriya Mahanayaka Theras as well as the Anunayaka Theras. Commencing his visit at the Malvathu Mahaviharaya, President Wickremesinghe engaged in a brief dialogue with the Chief Prelate, Most Venerable Sri Sumangala Thera. President Wickremesinghe received blessings and the Theras chanted Set Pirit and extended their blessings. Furthermore, President Wickremesinghe visited the Anunayaka Thera of the Malvathu chapter, the Most Venerable Dimbul Kumbure Sri Vimaladharma Thera, exchanging in a brief exchange of thoughts. Subsequently, President Ranil Wickremesinghe arrived at the Askiriya Mahaviharaya, where he was bestowed with blessings from the Most Venerable Varakagoda Sri Jnanaratna Thera, the Chief Prelate of the Askiriya chapter. Venerable Dr. Murudeniya Sri Dharmaratna Nayaka Thera, the custodian of the historical Mudiyangana Rajamahaviharaya, also graced the occasion. In the meantime, the President participated in religious ceremonies at the Asgiriya Gedige Rajamahaviharaya and received the blessings. During his interaction with the Anunayaka of the Askiriya chapter, the Most Venerable Dhammadasithera, President Wickremesinghe shed light on the government's reform program aimed at revitalizing the nation's economy, including the agricultural modernization initiative. Addressing those gathered, the Most Venerable Anamaduwe Dhammadasithera commended the President that the President's role during this difficult period is paramount for the nation. The country faced a significant economic downturn and the President's efforts in leading its recovery are commendable. The President personally endured losses, including property and his home. The President's aptitude to offer solutions to the prevailing issues is noteworthy. The Thera earnestly prayed for divine support, safeguarded by the blessings of the gods, goddesses, and the protection of the most sacred Truth Relic. Addressing the country's economic landscape, the President said that the country is currently transitioning out of financial turmoil. This revival is being facilitated through the implementation of a foreign debt optimization program and a series of substantial economic reforms. Presently, local banks are grappling with challenges leading to restricted access to funds. A significant number of domestic banks find themselves burdened with debt. Should the banking system falter, it could precipitate severe financial repercussions. Moreover, the central bank has received liabilities from the Employees' Provident Fund. Endeavours are underway to convert these liabilities into long-term bonds. While a marginal disparity in interest rates exists, it bears no detrimental impact on depositors. Notably, an agreement was reached last year to grant a 9% interest to Employees' Provident Fund depositors, and the President assured his commitment to enshrine this minimum interest rate into law. Additionally, the efforts encompass the formulation of a new Central Bank Act. This step will pave the way for subsequent negotiations with our creditor nations. Concurrently, we will address personal loans, aspiring to either substantially reduce our debt burden or devise a sustainable repayment plan over the long term, the President added. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Heavy rain fell in Kandy and its surrounding areas yesterday afternoon when the 4th Randoli Perahera of the Kandy Asala Perahera was scheduled to parade the streets, ending the dry weather that had been prevailing for many months in the area. There is a belief that rain will fall in Kandy with the commencement of the Kandy Asala Perahera, and the people who had come to watch the Perahera gave their blessings when the rainfall began. It was reported that after the great relic of the sacred tooth was brought to the Mahamalua, heavy rainfall started and Kandy was flooded. A special bus service commenced from the Anuradhapura railway station to the sacred city under the patronage of the Minister of Mass Media, Transport and Highways, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena. The new bus service was initiated based on the request made by the Chief Sanganayaka of Atamasthanathipadi Nuwara Zone, Most Venerable Pallegama Hemarathna Nayaka Thera. The request was made for the benefit of the devotees visiting the Anuradhapura Jayashri Mahabodhi during Poya days. The chairman of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, Lalit Dialvis, also made arrangements in this regard as per the advice given by the minister. The devotees will benefit from this service as they travel to the sacred sites from the Anuradhapura railway station with minimum cost. The Venerable Pallegama Hemarathna Nayaka Thera presented Anusasana and praised the minister for taking the initiative in this regard within a short period of time. The Dutch State Secretary for Culture and Media, Gunay Oesloe, said Sri Lanka and the Netherlands have a shared past and it will help to build together a common future with close cooperation in the fields of museum, collection, management, research and exchange of knowledge and expertise. She said this when she called on Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at Temple Trees yesterday, the Prime Minister's Media Division reported. On August 28, the visiting State Secretary and Cultural Minister Vidura Vikramanayake signed a transfer acknowledgement agreement to transfer valuable artifacts taken from Sri Lanka during the Dutch rule 2.5 centuries ago. The objects include the famous cannon of freedom fighter Luke de Save, 2 gold castans, Sinhalese knives, silver castan and 2 guns. The Prime Minister thanked the visiting State Secretary Gunay Oesloe for the transfer of artifacts and said the two countries should undertake collaboration on research on Dutch architecture, canal systems, forts and other monuments for prosperity. Referring to the cannon of Luke de Save, the Prime Minister said that he was happy that Sri Lanka will get back this valuable treasure and told the Dutch delegation that Luke was a place close to his hometown Sitawaka and the entire country pay homage to the national hero Luke de Save. An extraordinary combination of a supermoon and a blue moon will be visible tonight in the sky. The chairman of the Arthur C. Clarke Institute for Modern Technologies, Professor Chandana Jayaratne, said. Meanwhile, as the full moon occurs, When the moon is at its closest to the Earth in its orbit, the moon will be 14% bigger and 30% brighter than some of the other usually occurring full moons, according to the professor. Quote, when a full moon takes place while the moon is near its closest approach to Earth, it is called a superfull moon or a supermoon. On 2023 August 31st at 7:05 a.m., the moon will be closest to the Earth with a distance of 357,344 kilometers from the Earth, unquote, he said. Furthermore, Professor Jayaratne pointed out that the moon would not get any closer to the Earth until November 2025. The Export Development Board says Sri Lanka's earnings from merchandise exports increased by 2.18% in July 2023 compared to June 2023. As per the provincial data released by the Sri Lanka Customs, merchandise export earnings in July 2023 have surpassed the $1 billion mark, recording a total of $1,027.2 million. However, this is a decline of 11.79% as opposed to the value recorded in July 2022, the EDB says. This decline in merchandise exports is due to the reduced demand shown in export products, especially in apparel and textiles, rubber and rubber-based products, and coconut-based products. For the period of January to July 2023, overall merchandise exports decreased by 10.26% to $6,898.34 million compared to the corresponding period of 2022. All that came to you in local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya said today the government has done away with the permit system for importing wheat flour. The order came into effect from midnight yesterday. He commented on this speaking to the media in Ruanwala this morning. State Minister Siambalapitiya further mentioned that the import tax on wheat flour was increased from 16 to 27 rupees per kilogram. The State Minister assured that this would not lead to an increase in wheat flour prices, clarified that the move only intends to implement import controls on wheat flour, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
The health officials warn that several diseases are rapidly spreading among children with the prevailing dry weather conditions in the island. Dr. Deepal Pereira, specialist doctor at the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital in Colombo, states that conditions such as dehydration are common within children these days. Therefore, Dr. Pereira also recommended that children should be provided with more liquids during these days. Furthermore, the specialist doctor claimed that diseases like diarrhea can also spread widely among children with the prevailing dry weather, and came to you in Watchlight.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
On to world news, making headlines tonight, Ukraine war. Wave of drone strikes hits several Russian regions. G20, Delhi tries to scare monkeys away from summit. And Australia to hold historic indigenous vote in October. Moscow has vowed Ukraine will not go unpunished after drone strikes hit targets in Russia, while Kyiv saw its heaviest bombardment in months. The drones hit several Russian regions and damaged 2 military planes, a fuel depot and a microelectronics factory. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials said most missiles and drones were shot down, but 2 people were killed. Kyiv has not yet said that it was involved in the latest attacks, but it rarely comments on strikes inside Russia. Authorities in India's capital Delhi are taking steps to scare away monkeys from venues linked to the G20 summit. Life-size cutouts of grey monkeys which scare smaller monkeys have been put up at various places, and there are plans to deploy people trained to mimic the animals' sounds. Delhi has a large monkey population, and authorities hope these steps will keep the animals from disrupting the summit. Australians will vote in a historic referendum on the 14th of October to decide whether to elect an Indigenous voice to Parliament. If approved, the vote would recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the country's constitution and establish a permanent body for them to give advice on law. The proposal is the subject of fierce debate in Australia. The country has not had a successful referendum in almost 50 years. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities for well-experienced housemaids and home cooks in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait for ages 40 to 58 years. Salary 125,000 rupees. Not 3775000500.
The Sri Lanka Rupawahini Corporation is an institution which is closely intertwined with the production economy of the country, said the Transport, Highways and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandulu Gunawardena yesterday. The minister was of the view that the SLRC has succeeded in developing a dialogue with the people with regard to the fluctuations in the production economy of the country. The minister was speaking at a press conference held at the Media Ministry at the launch of the Industry Sri Lanka program by the Sri Lanka, together with the Industrial Development Board, IDB, to promote entrepreneurs, and came to you in Development News.
Job opportunities for women from Deshakti Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Housemaids and home cooks in Saudi Arabia, ages 40 to 58 years. Arabic speaking and well experienced home cooks. Salary 125,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can travel overseas free of charge now. Branches Colombo, Kurunegala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 0377 500 500. Deshakti Lanka Foreign Employment Agency.
On to sports news, the first match of the Asia Cup tournament between Pakistan and Nepal is being played at the Multan Cricket Grounds, Pakistan. Pakistan won the toss and elected to bat first. Accordingly, Pakistan scored 342 for 6 at the end of 50 overs. In reply, Nepal were 28 for 3 a short while ago, and that came to you in sports news.
Go ekaktiana youth ekat life eke change ekat niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekat niyameta set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Hilton Colombo Residencies has been honoured with multiple accolades at the Haute Grandeur Global Hotel Awards, including titles of Best Apartment Hotel, Best Culinary Experience, Best Family Hotel and Best Function Venue Hotel in Sri Lanka. This recognition is an honour for our hotel, our team and myself, representing a remarkable global acknowledgement of Hilton Colombo Residencies' excellence, said the General Manager of the Hilton Colombo Residencies, Karim Skadlow. That came to you in Business News. Economic News up next.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekaktiana youth ekat life eke change ekat niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekat niyameta set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, Sri Lanka will pass the 900,000 tourist arrival mark by the end of August, according to the available data. Up to August 27, Sri Lanka received 123,285, and in 2022 August, total arrival figures was 37,760. By August 27, Sri Lanka had attracted 891,198, and with more arrivals expected for the Kandy Perahera and the Asia Cricket Cup tournament, this figure is expected to pass the 900,000 mark. The total arrivals of 891,198 so far also overrun Sri Lanka's total number of arrivals for the entire year of 2022, which was 719,978, by nearly 171,220. Excluding the month of May, Sri Lanka has attracted over 100,000 arrivals each month, with July contributing to the highest of 143,039. India, with 26,227 arrivals, accounting for 21%, was the highest market for Sri Lanka, while the United Kingdom, with 14,236 tourists, and China, with 8,641, followed. Germany, 7,758, and the Russian Federation, 6,080, were the fourth and fifth largest source markets for Sri Lanka tourism. That's economic news.
Weather Report.
The Met Department says that there is a possibility of enhancing the prevailing showery conditions in the southwestern part of the island during the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of September. Showers will occur at times in the western, Sabragama, central and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Martara districts. Fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters, are likely at some places in the western and Sabragama provinces and in the Galle and Martara districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the eastern and Uva provinces and in the Polonnaruwa, Vavuniya and Mullaitivu districts during the evening or night. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The final Randoli Mahaperahara today. The Anunayaka of the Askiri chapter says the President plays a pivotal role for the country in these challenging times and merits the unwavering support of all citizens. The President said the efforts encompass the formulation of a new Central Bank Act will pave the way for subsequent negotiations with creditor nations. A shared past will help build common future, Dutch State Secretary tells the Sri Lankan Prime Minister. A special bus service commenced from the Anuradhapura railway station to the sacred city under the patronage of Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena. Rare super blue moon with ringed planet Saturn to appear tonight. Tax raised and permit system scrapped for wheat flour imports. Ukraine war, wave of drone strikes hits several Russian regions. And in cricket, Pakistan in command after Nepal in the curtain raiser of the Asia Cup tournament. With that, we conclude tonight's news broadcast.